Hey gang, today in class we took a lot of time to work on our snatch technique. Again, when we Olympic lift, we don't always need to worry about weight. Today was a good example why, and focusing on small details. The snatch can get super complicated, so today was a great class and just working on some small techniques. So we're going to break down kind of what we're looking for, especially that triple extension that we talked about today. So if we start in our starting position, what we want, our setup position is this vertical shin. Notice that arms are in line with where my bar path is, and I'm just over top of my bar. And if we film ourselves from the side, what we would want to see is that this bar never really gets in front of us. So if we watch the bar path, bar raises straight up, okay? It's going to pop out in front of us a little bit with that extension, but you notice it never comes way out front. So a couple people in class are having that issue of feeling unbalanced, and it's probably because we're letting this bar get too far out away from our body, and like we discussed about keeping it up along our body as long as we can. But today's main talk was that extension. So if we fast forward to triple extension, this is kind of what we're talking about. And I discussed how we don't want the lean back, but if you'll notice, because of that hip extension, it does look like the lean back. And when we snatch, we want a triple extension, which means extension at the ankles, knees, and the hips. So like we discussed in class, that violent snap of the hips is going to cause your torso to fly back. But why that's important is, one, it keeps that bar in that path that we drew before. Okay, it allows the bar to stay in that path and allows the athlete to get underneath of it back in that starting position. So notice where my head is here in relation to the beginning. So really, I'm throwing my hips forward to get back underneath the bar. So again, if we talked before about, it's not a lean back. What it is a violent hip thrust, which allows me to be triple extended. And we talked about before, also in class today, about how we don't want our head looking forward. We want that little lean back feel. And again, I keep saying the word lean back, but it's not a lean back. It's an exaggerated hip thrust that causes that bar path to go up. And the other thing that we want, that huge over-exaggerated big hip thrust, is, if you notice, pulling that bar into my hip allows me to kind of get under the bar to push it up as opposed to pushing it forward. So you notice, here's the bottom of my hip. Okay, that bar has been pulled all the way in my hip. So instead of driving it forward, what's going to happen is I'm going to drive up and under, cause that bar to go upwards. So if we go back to the beginning, okay, you draw that line, okay, there's where the head is, the bar path. If I extend with my hips violently, the bar kind of stays on the path where it's supposed to be so that I'm not jolted forward. So again, I know there's a lot to think about there today, but if we focus on small details when we snatch, okay, good things can happen. Think huge hip extension, huge over exaggerate, more than you think you know. Look at that, bam. You work on that, snatch will come to you better than you think. So like I showed today, using the blocks is a great idea. Just take the weight out of it and just work on that technique, work on that technique, work on that technique.